Now, for those that is not in the loop of things, honestly, last year we went down this gigantic bitch of a rabbit hole that is essentially LXOX34. And essentially, when it comes down to things, at first, well, let me tell you the story first. When I first saw this person on TikTok, I was like, oh shit, they look cool as hell. I'm down for this. Only to find out by another friend telling me that essentially they're not that great of a person, and we went and discussed a bit about that in the past videos before. And essentially they were one of the people that went out their way to harass Kyoto, to private her account when she was back being a lolly VTuber. And then obviously there was some other information that ended up popping up with somebody, I believe Poppy, who was talking about, I think their friend was being manipulated by L at some point in time as well. And also there was like lying about the Discord and how that was going to be like, you know, free for everybody, and then it became a Patreon added like thing, so that was also like its own level of annoyance as well. So truth be told, there's a lot of shit that has, you know, gone down when it comes down to this person, honestly. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I made one more video about, you know, talking about her as a whole. I think when I noticed that Melody and her started trying to, you know, talk with each other and stuff like that, and I'm like, you might need to watch your back, Melody, honestly. You don't know who this is. And when it comes down to things, you know, that's kind of how it is. But after that, really, I kind of just left it alone, because I didn't really feel like I needed to bring her up ever again, right? I'm just like, I'm just gonna let this shit rock, honestly, and whatever happens, ends up happening, and, you know, that just is what it is. Whatever the case may happen. But then, this morning, I ended up getting a comment on one of those older videos, essentially about someone saying that it's been a year and essentially she hasn't learned a single thing about, you know, all the crazy and terrible stuff that she has done, much less, you know, hasn't changed herself at all, which was the hope, honestly. So what we'll be going through a little bit is essentially the stuff that has been talked about that she's been doing recently, and just go into that a little bit. And obviously I would never go into a situation like this without having any evidence to back it up, so you'll be able to find a lot of this stuff in the description or in the respective places where I did find it, honestly. So, you know, that will be having links in the description for all that type of stuff. What I don't necessarily put in the description, if I can't, it will just be in the video, so you can just see for yourself what is exactly being, you know, brought up and stuff like that. So basically, the person that was contacting me when it comes down to all this, when it was saying like, oh, she hasn't learned anything, I was just like, alright, what does she do now? And essentially gave me some pretty wild stuff. Essentially, somebody been donating a shit ton of money to her, or at least a few hundreds to her every single stream, and apparently been able to break the rules because, oh, they're a big time spender on her, so that's something. And then also for the fact that, you know, she deleted some old Discord chats with her old mods and all that other stuff that probably could be a bit questionable on her end, so, you know, that is also pretty much gone, honestly. Then third, there was also like, you know, she was hiring like staff apparently that, you know, so no one can really get to her in that way. And then apparently for the fourth one, she ends up faking a lot of the NSFW that she does, which that had me a little bit crazy, honestly. So obviously I asked for evidence, and, you know, they was going to send it to me, yet, you know, it's Thanksgiving and obviously they want to spend time with their family, so it is what it is. So I decided to basically just turn into the Batman and started being the detective my damn self. Call me Yuma of Coco Head from Rain Code, because that's essentially what we ended up doing. So when it comes down to things, I end up finding a few things. When I started to scroll on Twitter and my banned account, when it comes down to things, I ended up finding one account that was basically keeping track of all the crazy shit that L has ever done. Like, you know, the whole things with Kyoto and all that stuff. And essentially, I'm just going to go ahead and say this, I don't think this is a coincidence. These two accounts are people. I don't think this just is a coincidence, honestly. So that's like my number one thing. Now, when it comes down to scrolling through that Twitter account, I end up seeing that, yes, seems to be true that, you know, Elle has been, you know, at least hiding the old chat logs from her Discord, from the old mods into the new mods and whatever, essentially, and like hasn't deleted them, but they're just still there and just like in transcript form and, you know, all that type of stuff. So whatever is being said in there, definitely there's some stuff in there that we probably won't really ever really see, unless somebody just say slip up and uh-oh, spaghettios that bitch, right? And looking through the account, they also try to, get a lot of these news channel YouTubers and VTubers and try to get their take and opinions on this type of thing. And False ID, not surprising, honestly, ended up basically blocking this account. So that's that, and basically that kind of just tells us that obviously that there might be in cahoots with each other, allegedly. Maybe, who knows. But this also is something that we just discussed recently too, that I don't think majority of these type of channels would be interested in covering this because reasons, I guess. But when it comes down to things, that's why I'm here, to do some damage, or at least give you like an awareness type of thing, I guess. Honestly, I really don't care. Anyway, when it comes down to things, so you have that, right? And then there's also scrolling down like this list of complaints against the community and stuff like this, and there's just the random things that she's been doing recently. Now, I have read said list of complaints, and there's a few things in here that I'm not necessarily agreeing when it comes to, what Elle has been doing, obviously, like having this top level sub person to basically do all this work to wanting to be with that, creator, or at least spend some time with them, only for it to be like a, nah, you good type of situation, which is a bit shitty. But I've seen other VTubers and YouTubers do the same thing, and it's scummy, it's trash, honestly, but it is what it is on that front. There has also been, obviously, the donator guy who has been basically giving money to Elle every stream, and essentially just like, you know what, let's have him break the rules a little bit. Him doing a little bit of stuff, it's fine, honestly. There's honestly a lot of details in here too that I might not be able to cover, which again, I would say to go ahead and just look at the account and try to read that stuff. Honestly, there's like stuff with Elle disrespecting the hell out of her community and her mods and stuff like that. You have, obviously the rule breaking a little bit. You have making the, I guess, the audience a bit uncomfortable when it comes down to things, allegedly, potentially, when it comes down to things about like a NTR stream, ASMR stream or whatever. And essentially you have, that type of thing going on. Also being hella greedy during the streams by asking for like donations or money and stuff like that, which doesn't really come at a surprise if it's true. Honestly, I can't necessarily confirm anything because I haven't gone back to watch the streams and I don't really have the time to, but it wouldn't come as a surprise if this is really the case. Again, all this is kind of just like, for a lot of it, it's kind of like alleged speak, honestly, but when it comes down to it, it's just like, yeah, it is not necessarily like something that's unbelievable that she wouldn't do, because let's give it a stat, yes, she would. From what I understand of her, just by off of like the last stuff that we had talked about when it comes to her and just reading this now, it's kind of just like, well, it just tells me that she's just a really greedy person that really just wants to manipulate everybody that's around her until you have basically used all your usefulness points up, so she can just go into the next type of person. This feels kind of close to some Illuminati shit. Can I be for real? This feels something close to that, or akin to it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that close to it. But again, it just what it feels like to me. It's just what I think, honestly. But there's also one more thing that the account actually has, which is like a link to a site called Fuzzetter, whatever the hell. When it comes down to things, essentially just listing off again the things that she has been done, or like the old code names that she used to be under, essentially, like Kraken, honestly, if you remember that one. And there's just a lot of other shit that, that's just been in this damn list of things that she has done. One of the things that obviously has intrigued me, because of course it does, is the NSFW faking. Is that really true? Well, in this one of the link that has it in the, what describing all the stuff that she's done, essentially, which is like, well, it doesn't feel like it's like a true real deal confirmed, but it could be, and it wouldn't be too, again, surprising if this is what it is, by maybe faking having the toy somewhere up in there, honestly, and not necessarily using that to the fullest extent until maybe later or something like that, maybe like holding it to her hand and faking the content that way. To be honest, it doesn't come off as a big deal at first. Because when I'm thinking about, oh, you're faking NSFW content, I'm thinking, oh, someone else is doing that for you. You might be supplying the voice, but you're doing that with somebody else to do that with, and maybe that's like a thing. But I don't know. Like, I feel like this fourth one is a bit, a little, right? So it doesn't necessarily feel like it's that serious, but it can be depending on how she kind of actually goes about it, which we'll probably never really know the answer to unless she says something. But that's essentially about it when it comes to that. There are also even more talks about, wiping away some older chats that she used to have and, trying to get rid of that stuff. And this ain't the first time she did this. And I know somebody that might be, looking at this channel because we are a bit bigger than where we were before talking about this previously. You might be thinking, and you might just be one of her fans and stuff, being like, well, you're on some bullshit. There is no way that this is true. No way Elle would be like this, right? And honestly, all you need to do is do a few things, right? Look up Elle's name on Google. Just type in LXOX34. You'll look down the page and just see. Nothing looks different, right? But then when you type in her previous name, Kraken aka _K, then you'll probably see some suspect things. Like, for example, there was like a Reddit page where essentially somebody was about to be in the description of that page basically saying that, oh, she's faking the NSFW streams and stuff like that. The same thing that we talked about potentially before. And lo and behold, if you click it, there is nothing there. So it's clear to me that, something is trying to be, chucked out the window and hidden. But obviously you'd be like, oh, well, that's basically, a lie or something like that, right? Maybe that the person got it wrong or something like that. Essentially, and that's just how that goes. But that and you might be right, honestly, but that would be the one thing that you probably maybe get right. Because if you really think that, she isn't necessarily that dramatic or cause any problems, look no further than Various Form, where you have the Lolly drama with Kyoto Drama Archive, honestly. It gives you every piece of detail that you will ever need when it comes to her. And again, it's on Google. You can look this shit up. It's not that hard, honestly. It even tells you, I believe, that, the change up. And even again, if you don't necessarily believe me, type in Kraken aka _K on Twitter and then see who pulls up. You can do that. Twitter has a weird rule where that is the case. You could see old posts. You might not necessarily see their messages anymore because it's deleted, but you could see somebody and a few other people are getting mad at that person for some reason, which is related to the Kyoto situation. So when it comes down to things, it's not necessarily a very well hidden secret that, Elle has done some messed up things, honestly. It's not necessarily that surprising. And hell, even if you just looked up the name with Kraken in like Google and stuff, you can even see that in the virtual YouTuber wiki that her name is attached to that. So again, it's not necessarily like, oh, they're two different people. No, that's the same damn person, honestly. It's just taking on a different disguise, basically rebranded, and somehow it worked, honestly. But that doesn't mean people forgot the shit that she pulled when it comes down to things. So overall, when it comes down to Elle, honestly, as I said before, it is a shame that a person like this, who has a beautiful ass model, a very sexy ass model, ends up being a very trash and not so great person underneath that damn model, honestly. That model deserves to be going to somebody else that actually is worth it versus, someone on Elle's caliber when it comes down to things, right? Also, when it comes down to things, I'm gonna go ahead and put the older videos in the description or maybe the comics, so, you see those videos too, because it goes way into deep detail about the shit that they pulled, honestly, because it's a lot of nonsense. Again, it's a lot of nonsense that I'm, like, kind of telling you here, but also at the same time, you kind of need to just look it up for yourself, because, yeah, it's not great, honestly. Elle's not a great person, if you can believe that, right? She's not great. Despite her opening up that vagina and, having it open for her gamers, honestly, and, using being gay as your personality for some reason. But when it comes down to things, even though with all that stuff and how great that model looks, it doesn't necessarily cover the person underneath. It's really nothing really too surprising when it comes down to it. Like I said before, she's a mess. A parasocial mess, but a mess nonetheless. And even when it comes down to, obviously, the greedy of getting money from different people that can actually, afford to send money and whatever, and, letting them break rules and do certain things and covering their tracks and having other people help cover her tracks too. when it comes down to other things, and obviously potentially faking that NSW stuff that she ends up doing, like her streams or whatever. I have seen one of her streams. It is what it is when it comes down to that, and you know, all the other past stuff that she's been involved in. She doesn't have a very clean record. Let's just keep that stacked. She really doesn't. So again, if you are someone that watches L, or if you're someone that really gave a shit about her honestly and really liked the shit out of her, or if you're a friend of her or something like that, definitely might want to start keeping your distance with her. And I've mentioned and warned people of this shit before, honestly, yet no one has really listened to what I have to say, because of course no one listens to what the hell I have to say. But eventually, at some point in time, yeah, I usually become correct, honestly. I said, you know, a lot of things before in the past, maybe on a different subject, maybe like, oh, you know, I'm not necessarily super excited or laughing at my ass off about the whole Chun-Li noob mod on Street Fighter, because I feel like it's going to be a bad time. And what ends up happening? A lot of companies now hate mods, and that's the leading charge of it, honestly. So, you know, there's a lot of times where I'm saying something, trying to tell you something, ends up being ignored, and it turns out correct. So, just gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you're someone that is supporting L, you know, if that's what you want to do, and you want to continue with her nonsense, go ahead. But personally, I would not be supporting a person that endorses harassment of other VTubers and taking the money of people just to let them do what the hell they want to in their community, honestly. And having so many damn skeletons in her closet to hide shit from even her own moderation team. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be supporting that type of person, right? Instead of giving your money to L, give your money to me, gosh damn it. Like, why is all the bad people getting all the money in the world? Like, dead ass, let me get this shit. I got a house to pay off for. Shit. Anyway, that's essentially all I really have for this one. I just really wanted to mention this because someone brought it back up. And yeah, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also, let me know what y'all eating for Thanksgiving as well, because I ain't gonna necessarily lie. But like, the food we had was pretty decent and pretty okay, right? Had some nice ass ham. Ham is the goat of Thanksgiving. Not gonna hold you. F turkey. But yeah, that's essentially what we have for you. And until then, it's boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.
If it doesn't break rules, you could do anything you want to do, okay? Alright, I'm an adult, I can take care of myself. I know that in the end, I have my own doctor, and you should always, no matter what, always listen to your own doctor, like, for your medical stuff, you know what I mean? But like with me and Gar, like that, it's just like a running gimmick. Like he's like my doctor, and he just like diagnoses me with stuff. And I hope you guys could understand that, okay? And be nice to one and each other, one another. Again, if it doesn't break rules, you guys could do whatever you guys want to do, okay? Do whatever y'all want to do. I am just here to vibe with y'all. All right, guys.